So it's been a couple of months since I did an update on my coronavirus uh, tool here that's graphing and plotting the data for and analysing the data for the coronavirus straight from Johns Hopkins University. So here's the latest data from JHU for the 8th of July. So and this is how things are currently looking. So we've currently got 12 million cases worldwide, 550,000 deaths, and about 6.5 million people recovered. And of course, the number of cases is of course extremely underreported because there's only the people that have been tested. Okay, and there's vast majority of the people out there that have COVID-19 haven't been tested because they're not showing serious symptoms. Okay, so the real number of cases is much higher, which means, of course, the mortality rate as a percentage is much lower than that. That's way too high because the number of recoveries hasn't been updated properly yet, and also it doesn't take into account the number of people that have it that haven't been hospitalised or whatever, or tested. Okay, so the number of mortalities or percentage mortality is much lower than 7%. It's probably less than 1 or 2%, around about there. Okay, so much higher cases. Really, it's probably well over 100 million cases worldwide. 550,000 deaths is pretty accurate, and probably more than that recoveries as well, because most people that have it didn't show symptoms or it didn't show serious symptoms. So again, we're probably talking about much higher recovery values than that. And of course, don't forget that the figures supplied by the China Communist Party are vastly underreported. These figures here virtually haven't changed since early March, and we're now in July, and whole cities have been locked down in China because of the coronavirus. Beijing, Shanghai, the Wuhan area has been locked down multiple times, and these figures here have barely changed. So the Chinese Communist Party are lying their asses off about these figures for their own political agenda, of course. So anyway, that's where we're standing so far. So 550,000 deaths. Now, I had someone say to me a few days ago that coronavirus is no worse than the common flu season. And I did a search on the internet and found some figures on the common flu. And about 60,000 people a year die from the common flu, about 60,000. And that's according to the World Health Organization. And here we've got 550,000 dead so far from coronavirus. That's a lot more than 60,000. That's almost 10 times the number. And as you'll see shortly, we're a long way from the end. So if anyone says to you coronavirus is no worse than the common flu, just walk away because they don't have a clue what they're talking about. There's no point trying to argue with them. Okay, let's have a look at some graphs, and I'll just show you some graphs here. So there's all countries there. I'll just expand this out a little bit so you can see all the way to the end. And I need to add units under my graphs here. These are just hand plotted graphs that I draw in my code. I'm just plotting pixels, and I need to add units and that sort of thing. So that's all to add. This is all a work in progress. But as you can see here, the all countries one, it's rising quite steeply. So all countries rising quite steeply. That's the number of confirmed cases. That's the number of recoveries. But the deaths is quite low. Okay, it's very low down here. Okay, so, and again, these two lines here should be much higher. The real number of cases is much higher than 12 million. It's over 100 million. And similarly, the number of recoveries is way higher than 6.5 million. It's probably over 100 million as well. So, so the number of deaths really is quite small. Just want to make that very clear. Let's have a look at some countries. Okay, here's Australia. Australia was doing very well, and then we've had all this drama in the last few weeks, and now Melbourne's locked down, or large parts of Melbourne are locked down, and the Victoria border's been reclosed, and all sorts of things. So people ignored their social distancing, let their caution go to the wind, and now they're paying the price. So that's Australia. Austria doing very well. Bangladesh, that's a sharp rise there for Bangladesh. I'll just pull out a few countries. Bolivia, very sharp rise there. Cambodia's doing very well. That's leveled out nicely. Well done, Cambodia. Cuba, Cuba's doing very well too. Fiji, again, it's very low numbers, so it's quite steppy data. Let's have a look at Greece. Yeah, Greece is starting to level out nicely. Iceland. Oh yes, doing very well. Leveled out nicely there. Just have a look at a few countries, a few more. Lebanon, not doing too bad. There's some countries with much steeper rises than that. Let's have a look at India. India's one I want to look at. Yeah, India's got quite a sharp rise there. Their number of cases increasing rapidly, but their deaths are still quite low, which is great. Well done, India, for keeping your deaths down. Mexico is going up quite steep, and they've got a fair number of deaths. Nepal, Niger, Russia, yeah, see quite steep there as well. Switzerland, yeah. The poor old well, let's look at the UK first. The UK doing very well. It's leveled out nicely, and the US, gee, it was leveling out, and then it's gone sharp again with all these things happening over there. And Zimbabwe, oh dear, I think it's quite steppy data because the numbers are small, so this might only be an increase of a few dozen, so hopefully it's not too bad in Zimbabwe. But as you can see from the world figures here, it's still rising steeply. The number of cases is rising steeply. The number of recoveries is rising steeply. The number of deaths is just gradually going up. You know, not exponential growth or anything. So the deaths are well under control worldwide. There's no need for panic buying. There's no need for buying shops out of toilet rolls or anything like that. You know, we're seeing panic buying again in lots of stores around where I live, and there's absolutely no need for it. As long as people buy just what they need, things won't run out. But we've still got a long way to go. These graphs are still rising too steeply. We've got at least as long again, so we've had 4 or 5 months of it so far. We've got at least another 4 or 5 months to go, I'd say, just from these graphs. Just an estimate, and based on how things are going in the world, you know, we need these graphs to level off before we can really let people wander around freely again, because otherwise the number of deaths is going to go skyrocketing, and our hospitals will be overrun with people, and we won't be able to help many of them. Okay, so it's good news that the deaths is low, but I'd just like to see these confirmed cases and recoveries levelling out, or confirmed cases levelling out anyway, the number of new cases. Anyway, that's my analysis with the latest data. Hope that was useful. Thanks for watching.